Chapter 1. The Malicious Playfulness of the Wind by Victor Hugo from the book Les Misérables. Since 1823, when the tavern of Montfermeil was on the way to shipwreck and was being gradually engulfed, not in the abyss of a bankruptcy, but in the cesspool of petty debts, the Thénardier pair had had 2 other children, both males. That made 5, 2 girls and 3 boys. Madame Thénardier had got rid of the last 2, while they were still young and very small, with remarkable luck. Got rid of is the word. There was but a mere fragment of nature in that woman, a phenomenon by the way of which there is more than one example extant. Like the Maréchale de la Marthe-Houdencourt, the Thénardier was a mother to her daughters only. There her maternity ended. Her hatred of the human race began with her own sons. In the direction of her sons her evil disposition was uncompromising, and her heart had a lugubrious wall in that quarter. As the reader has seen, she detested the eldest, she cursed the other too. Why? Because, the most terrible of motives, the most unanswerable of retorts, because, "I have no need of a litter of squalling brats," said this mother. Let us explain how the Thénardiers had succeeded in getting rid of their last 2 children, and even in drawing profit from the operation. The woman Magnon, who was mentioned a few pages further back, was the same one who had succeeded in making old Gillenormand support the 2 children which she had had. She lived on the Quai des Célestins, at the corner of this ancient street of the Petit Musc, which afforded her the opportunity of changing her evil repute into good odour. The reader will remember the great epidemic of croup which ravaged the river districts of the Seine in Paris 35 years ago, and of which science took advantage to make experiments on a grand scale as to the efficacy of inhalations of alum, so beneficially replaced at the present day by the external tincture of iodine. During this epidemic, the Magnon lost both her boys, who were still very young, one in the morning, the other in the evening of the same day. This was a blow. These children were precious to their mother. They represented 80 francs a month. These 80 francs were punctually paid in the name of M. Gillenormand by collector of his rents M. Barge, a retired tipstaff in the Rue du Roi de Sicile. The children dead, the income was at an end. The Magnon sought an expedient. In that dark Freemasonry of evil of which she formed a part, everything is known, all secrets are kept, and all lend mutual aid. Magnon needed 2 children, the Thénardiers had 2, the same sex, the same age, a good arrangement for the one, a good investment for the other. The little Thénardiers became little Magnons. Magnon quitted the Quai des Célestins and went to live in the Rue Clochepus. In Paris, the identity which binds an individual to himself is broken between one street and another. The registry office, being in no way warned, raised no objections, and the substitution was effected in the most simple manner in the world. Only the Thénardier exacted for this loan of her children 10 francs a month, which Magnon promised to pay, and which she actually did pay. It is unnecessary to add that M. Gillenormand continued to perform his compact. He came to see the children every 6 months. He did not perceive the change. "Monsieur," Magnon said to him, "how much they resemble you." Thénardier, to whom avatars were easy, seized this occasion to become Jondrette. His 2 daughters and Gavroche had hardly had time to discover that they had 2 little brothers. When a certain degree of misery is reached, one is overpowered with a sort of spectral indifference, and one regards human beings as though they were spectres. Your nearest relations are often no more for you than vague shadowy forms, barely outlined against a nebulous background of life, and easily confounded again with the invisible. On the evening of the day when she had handed over her 2 little ones to Magnon, with express intention of renouncing them forever, the Thénardier had felt, or had appeared to feel, a scruple. She said to her husband, "But this is abandoning our children." Thénardier, masterful and phlegmatic, cauterized the scruple with this saying. Jean-Jacques Rousseau did even better. From scruples the mother proceeded to uneasiness. "But what if the police were to annoy us? Tell me, Monsieur Thénardier, is what we have done permissible?" Thénardier replied, "Everything is permissible. No one will see anything but true blue in it. Besides, no one has any interest in looking closely after children who have not a sou." Magnon was a sort of fashionable woman in the sphere of crime. She was careful about her toilet. She shared her lodgings, which were furnished in an affected and wretched style, with a clever Gallicized English thief. This English woman, who had become a naturalized Parisienne, recommended by very wealthy relations, intimately connected with the medals in the library and Mademoiselle Mars diamonds, became celebrated later on in judicial accounts. She was called Mamselle Miss. The 2 little creatures who had fallen to Magnon had no reason to complain of their lot. Recommended by the 80 francs, they were well cared for, as is everything from which profit is derived. They were neither badly clothed nor badly fed. They were treated almost like little gentlemen, better by their false mother than by their real one. Magnon played the lady, and talked no thieves' slang in their presence. Thus passed several years. Thénardier augured well from the fact. One day he chanced to say to Magnon as she handed him his monthly stipend of 10 francs, the father must give them some education. All at once these two poor children, who had up to that time been protected tolerably well, even by their evil fate, were abruptly hurled into life, and forced to begin it for themselves. A wholesale arrest of malefactors, like that in the Jondrette garret, necessarily complicated by investigations and subsequent incarcerations, is a veritable disaster for that hideous and occult counter-society which pursues its existence beneath public society. An adventure of this description entails all sorts of catastrophes in that sombre world. The Thénardier catastrophe involved the catastrophe of Magnon. One day, a short time after Magnon had handed to Eponine the note relating to the Rue Plumet, a sudden raid was made by the police in the Rue Clochepus. Magnon was seized, as was also Mamselle Miss, and all the inhabitants of the house, which was of a suspicious character, were gathered into the net. While this was going on, the two little boys were playing in the backyard and saw nothing of the raid. When they tried to enter the house again, they found the door fastened and the house empty. A cobbler opposite called them to him and delivered to them a paper which their mother had left for them. On this paper there was an address, M. Barge, collector of rents, Rue du Roi de Sicile, No. 8. The proprietor of the stall said to them, "You cannot live here any longer. Go there, it is nearby. The first street on the left, ask your way from this paper." The children set out, the elder leading the younger, and holding in his hand the paper which was to guide them. It was cold, and his benumbed little fingers could not close very firmly, and they did not keep a very good hold on the paper. At the corner of the Rue Clochepus a gust of wind tore it from him, and as night was falling, the child was not able to find it again. They began to wander aimlessly through the streets.